We are what we do, not what we say.
COP29 is a moment of truth for the Paris Agreement.
I urge you all to prove once again that we can unite, act, and deliver.
The 29th session of the Conference of the Parties of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, the annual UN Climate Summit, has kicked off in Azerbaijan's capital, Baku.
Distinguished delegates, it gives me great pleasure to declare open the 29th session of the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change.
As a state in Central and Eastern Europe, Azerbaijan holds the presidency of COP this year. The 10-day summit will see global leaders from the public and private sectors deliberate on and compel action around climate action, energy transition, and sustainability targets. Close to 200 countries are in attendance. This is the final COP before the February 2025 deadline to update nationally determined contributions, or NDCs, the most significant aspect of which is the historic COP28 decision to phase out fossil fuels. With its slogan, "In Solidarity for a Green World," the conference is set to take the international effort towards responsible climate action forward. Apart from taking stock of ongoing projects, loss and damage associated with climate change, and measures for prevention of climate change associated destruction, the session will focus on climate finance. The summit will negotiate a new climate finance fund, the NCQG, or the new collective quantified goal.
We must agree a new global climate finance goal. If at least 2/3 of the world's nations cannot afford to cut emissions quickly, then every nation pays a brutal price. If nations can't build resilience into supply chains, the entire global economy will be brought to its knees. No country is immune. So let's dispense with the idea that climate finance is charity. An ambitious new climate finance goal is entirely in the self-interest of every single nation, including the largest and the wealthiest. But it's not enough to just agree on a goal. We must work harder to reform the global financial system, giving countries the fiscal space they so desperately need.
It will also discuss long-term climate finance, as well as annual reports of the Green Climate Fund and the Global Environment Facility. Other important elements on the agenda include sustainable transformation and green growth, decarbonization and energy transition, gender and climate change, dialogue on mountains and climate change, capacity building, finalizing rules for carbon trading under Article 6, AI, technology and climate impact, technology transfer, and matters relating to least developed countries.
Whether you see them or not, people are suffering in the shadows. They are dying in the dark, and they need more than compassion, more than prayers and paperwork, and they're crying out for leadership and action. COP29 is an unmissable moment to chart a new path forward for everyone.
Apart from negotiating a new annual climate finance target of up to $1 trillion, it hopes to achieve some other tangible results as well. A deal to get multilateral carbon credit markets working, an increase in financial aid to countries hit by severe and costly climate disasters. The summit will also establish a regional center for climate change technologies in Central Asia. The summit takes place while the world is in chaos, with the war in Ukraine and a severe humanitarian crisis in Gaza. At the same time, keeping in mind this dismissive attitude towards climate change, Donald Trump's victory in the US presidential elections has put a dampener on the spirit on climate talks. Trump has also threatened to pull out of the Paris Agreement.
the United States will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord. Thank you. Thank you. But begin negotiations to re-enter either the Paris Accord or in really entirely new transaction on terms that are fair to the United States, its businesses, its workers, its people, its taxpayers. So we're getting out, but we will start to negotiate, and we will see if we can make a deal that's fair. And if we can, that's great. And if we can't, that's fine.
At the national level, since Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well as Union Environment Minister Bhupendra Yadav will both be
absent,
India's presence and participation will be subdued. Unlike previous years, India will also not be hosting a pavilion at the COP. The 19-member Indian delegation is being led by Union Minister of State for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Kirti Vardhan Singh. A shift in India's position has to do with its struggle to balance its commitment to climate action with its rising energy demands amidst high economic growth. This also comes at a time when global attention is slowly shifting to growing economies to take a lead on reducing emissions. Bureau Report, India Today Global.